This time on Movie Reviews, we're going to be looking at the third and final chapter in M. Night Shyamalan's superhero trilogy, Glass. Glass was directed by M. Night Shyamalan and stars Bruce Willis, James McAvoy, Samuel L. Jackson, Sarah Paulson, and Anya Taylor-Joy, and follows the story shortly after the events of Split, where David Dunn is captured along with the Beast, played by James McAvoy, and they are sent to an insane asylum where this doctor, played by Sarah Paulson, has brought them together to study them and try to help them understand that they are not superheroes and that it is all in their head. And while this is going on, they meet up with Glass, Mr. Glass to be exact, who is played by Samuel L. Jackson, and we see these three just play off each other and trying to escape this asylum. So before I talk about this film, I thought it would be a good idea to at least mention what I think of the first two films. I like both of them a lot. I didn't see them when they originally were released or anything. I just seen them recently, and I like them for what they are. They're really fun movies. However, I think both of them suffer from some pacing issues, especially near the beginning and middle of the film that just kind of drag it down a little bit. I really like those films though. Now right off the bat, Glass is not going to be a film for everybody. I've already seen that people are kind of disappointed with this film. Critics don't really seem to like it. However, I really liked this film. It's got its share of problems, of course, but we'll get into those. But honestly, I really loved this film for a majority of the film. In fact, about 85% of the movie, when I was watching it, I was like, this is one of the best superhero films I have ever seen. I was having a blast with this film. And then the last 15 minutes happen, or the last 15% of the film at least, and it just leaves you with a sour taste in your mouth that kind of disappoints you. But I overall had such a fun time watching this movie. A lot of people are going to look at this film and see it as a disappointment and see a lot of the stuff as silly, which this film can be very silly. But oftentimes when I look at a film, I try to figure out while I'm watching it what the director is trying to do, what is his goal in this film. And honestly, for a lot of it, I feel like it's intentional, and I think that M. Night Shyamalan was trying to make just a kind of fun, but yet, in a way, a goofy movie, not taking itself too seriously, but only taking it serious enough when it really needs to, and I think that's what works about this film. The acting for this film across the board is excellent. Of course, people are going to be talking about James McAvoy in this film. He is terrific in the film, doing all these different personalities and shifting between them so quickly and so flawlessly, and it's honestly just a lot of fun to watch him just be a 9-year-old kid to acting like a woman to being the Beast. It's really just fun watching him, and he's definitely the highlight of the film. Also, Samuel L. Jackson is excellent, as well as Sarah Paulson as the doctor in the film, and Anya Taylor-Joy. And even to an extent, Bruce Willis, who honestly is the weak link in this cast. Bruce Willis just doesn't seem to care about acting anymore in general, so his performance is very dull and bored, but he does give an alright performance to where I still believe that he is this character from Unbreakable. Also, something that surprised me in the film was the return of Spencer Treat Clark, who played David Dunn's son in the first film, Unbreakable, and I haven't seen this guy in forever. Like, I think the last thing I seen him in was Gladiator, and that was a long time ago, and he is pretty good in this film. He's got a lot of good scenes, and everybody has some really good scenes. There's a lot of scenes in this film where the actors really do shine, and I think that directing and everything is just well done. There's a particular scene with James McAvoy's character, Kevin, and Anya Taylor-Joy's character, and the acting between the two is just so good, and it's such an emotional scene that you really feel for these characters, you're invested in them, and it's just a very well-crafted, well-written scene, and there's a bunch of scenes like this in that film. They are just so good and so emotionally filled. There's stuff such as a particular scene near the end of the film that had me in tears, and a lot of that has to do with maybe watching the first film and then also just the emotion of the characters and also the music. I've got to talk about the soundtrack in this film. The soundtrack is beautiful. The soundtrack comes from Wes Dillon Thorson, who did the soundtrack for Split, and this time he does an excellent job here, especially during a scene with Bruce Willis. That is just a beautiful soundtrack. The song I'm talking about is a song called Belief. Look that up. It's a beautiful track and just fits the scene so well. It's so good. It brought me back to moments of the first Unbreakable film, such as the scene where Bruce Willis is fighting with the Orange Man. It's great. And the scene that honestly steals the show is a scene that's in the trailer. It's when all three of these characters are together in a room, and that's Elijah, Kevin, and David Dunn, and they're all talking to Sarah Paulson's character, and it's just a very well done scene, and it's beautifully shot. I just love the colors in the room. It's this nice shade of like a pink or a purple. It's just very beautiful. The cinematography in this film is absolutely gorgeous. And all this stuff works really well together until, I want to say, near the ending of the film, where it kind of falls apart. And this is where the biggest problems I have with the film come from, is particularly the ending, or the last 15 to 20 minutes of the film. And it just feels like a letdown, and also very cruel. I'm not going to be talking about spoilers in this video, but it is very cruel and just doesn't fit with what we were promised throughout the rest of the film. The first half had so much promise, but all those problems near the end, like, the film sets up this big showdown that's supposed to happen, and on this grand scale, and it doesn't happen. It's of course M. Night Shyamalan trying to be very twisty with not giving you exactly what you wanted, but I wish he did, because what we got was rather disappointing, with a bunch of more twists that just brought it down a little for me and really made me feel like, no, I'm not watching one of the greatest superhero films of all time, which I felt like I was through the rest of the film. However, I think this is a very good, underlooked film. I think people are not going to particularly love this film, but I absolutely loved it. I'm going to give Glass an 8 out of 10. I thought long and hard about this, seeing if I was going to give this a 7 or an 8, just because of how the ending turns out. But honestly, I loved the film throughout so much of it, and I just couldn't give this a 7. I just loved it too much. Well guys, that's all I've got for you, so as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next review.